Aura Plus on the markets today. We're excited to go over what this new product is, some exclusive things that only Freedom Forever will have. So let's jump right into the agenda and go over what we're going to be talking about today. Now, this is our second webinar about Aura. So if you missed the first one, we're going to do a recap about Aura, what it is, how it works, then introduce to you a similar product to Aura, which is Aura Plus. We'll talk about the differences between Aura and Aura Plus. Then we're going to introduce you to Aura Fixed versus Aura Lite, the exclusive product of Freedom Forever, Aura Lite. We'll walk you through the cash process and the credit human process so that you can submit these projects. And then, like we do with all of our webinars, we will have a Q&A session. We've got a bunch of key stakeholders from Freedom Forever here with us today to answer your questions in the Q&A. We will also hear from our CEO, Brett Bushey, at the start of the Q&A session, so look forward to that. And let's jump right into it. So let's recap what we covered briefly in the previous Aura webinar, because as this gets introduced to a bunch of new markets, you're going to have the option to use both products in many of them. So let's talk about Aura and how it works. So basically, Aura is a hybrid financing solution that allows tax incentives to pass through to the homeowner. They pass these benefits to the customer through an upfront discount. The customer can pay for the discounted PPL with cash or with a loan from Credit Human. With a loan, there's lower monthly payments to start since it's discounted already. And there's no need to reamortize the loan since those tax credits are already factored in. Customers can prepay the loan principal at any time, such as in like the case of a home sale, and they can own the system as soon as the 6th anniversary. So Aura reintroduces a significant path to ownership that is an incredibly exciting product where you have all of the benefits of ownership with some of the key features of TPO. The installer and manufacturer warranties are offered to the system owner. So with Participate, who owns the prepaid lease for the duration of time where they own that lease, they are providing the installer and manufacturer warranties. So let's take a quick look at the Aura structure. Let's say you have a project that costs $40,000 as a gross system cost. Well, there's going to be a flat 30% discount on that project because of the tax incentives that are being passed on to the homeowner. So with Aura in its current state, as we said a second ago, that $28,000 can be paid in cash by the homeowner, which would go through the paykeeper process, or they would finance that with the Credit Human loan. So the key advantages of Aura is obviously, so it's a superior product in that it preserves all of the tax credits and passes those along for the customer, and it gives them a opportunity to own their system in the long term. It offers lower total cost than the typical leases or PPAs, also giving you more options in the event of a home sale. It's more likely to increase the home value than a monthly PPA, which is historically proven not to do so. And it allows customers with batteries to retain their long-term VPP rights, which we see as the future of distributed generation and utility interaction. So giving a homeowner the opportunity to own the rights to their virtual power plant is a significant advantage over any TPO product, because when the TPO is the owner, they are the ones that own that VPP. So from the rep's perspective, it's priced just like a loan. You're taking the guessing games out of net PPWs and your commissions. It is an incredibly streamlined post-sale process with no savings test, a wide production tolerance of 15%, and fewer requirements that we expect to result in way fewer change orders. So now that we have this competitive advantage with the Credit Human's 20-year escalating loan that we are calling Aura Lite, you have a product that no one else in the marketplace besides Freedom Forever does. And we're going to talk about Aura Lite here in a little bit, but we wanted to address the key advantages of Aura and how it's going to work in your markets. So let's talk about what is allowed with Credit Human. Rental homes are allowed, vacation homes are allowed, as well as second homes. Townhomes and condos are allowed if the roof is owned, and you can do add-on second systems with the Credit Human loan. You can also do trusts and LLCs with the Aura product. And again, for the requirement, we have a minus 15% production tolerance, a minus 3% to plus 10% size tolerance. As long as it falls into one of the allowed property types and meets the same credit human underwriting as normal, you should be able to apply this product. Now, we do want to address that you cannot do a full re-roof yet, but we are on the brink of introducing a home improvement contract with Credit Human that will allow you to finance the full cost of the roof along with financing the portion that is for your prepaid lease. So look for an announcement on that soon as well. Okay, so let's jump into Aura Plus, which we feel as a game changer for our product lineup. And then we'll branch off and also talk about the Aura Fixed versus Aura Lite product. So what is Aura Plus? Aura Plus has the same benefits as Aura, but is a more flexible product. In this instance, the customer would finance the full cost of the system. So with Aura Plus, the tax benefits are paid via a refund check. They'll receive 5% right after install, and then the remaining 25% after PTO. The customer has options here. They can keep the refund or repay that into their loan. They can reamortize that up to 3 times and prepay the loan principal at any time. And again, they can own the system as soon as the 6th anniversary. So let's take a look at what this would look like in a Aura Plus structure. In this situation, they would finance the gross system price, which would be the loan amount, which would give you a PPL amount and net cost of $28,000, and they'll receive a $12,000 refund check. Now, with that refund check, they can either repay it to reduce the amount of that loan and the monthly payments, or they can keep it. It is homeowner discretion. So everyone loves a good Venn diagram. Let's take a look at what the Venn diagram is for Aura and Aura Plus. So with Aura, we have a discounted loan, no refund, and the lowest starting payments. With Aura Plus, they finance 100% of the cost of the system and get a 30% refund. This is the most flexible product and, for reps, the fastest paying product. Now, where these meet is it is the lowest total cost. The customer gets to retain their VPP rights. There are flexible buyouts and simple processing. So you get the best of both worlds, whichever route you decide. With that being said, let's talk about how the pay structure works if you go Aura or Aura Plus. Now, if you do Aura, the milestone 1 payments are $2,000 for markets outside of California. In California, M1 is $2,500. Then there is a M2A, which is 40% of the remainder at install. Then there's a second milestone, M2B, which is 40% at inspection. And then at M3, the remaining balance of that will be paid out to the rep. With Aura Plus, you are paid the same M1, $2,000 in other states besides California and $2,500 in California. Then you are paid the remaining balance of that project at install. So with Aura Plus, the rep gets full funding at install. Now, keep in mind, there are changes coming to these M1s very soon in favor of Aura Plus. Once those changes go live, the M1 payments for Aura will drop to $500 for markets outside of California and $1,000 M1 for California projects. Now, for Aura Plus, those M1s will increase to $2,500 for markets outside of California and $3,000 for California projects. These changes are not live yet, but they are coming soon. So we wanted to give you a heads up in this presentation to know what's coming with these M1 payments. Okay, so now it's time to introduce to you Credit Human Lite, which is the product that's exclusive to Freedom Forever. We're excited to introduce this product to you. Let's talk about how it works and how it's going to benefit you in your markets. So first, the Credit Human Lite loan is exclusive to Freedom Forever. It offers the lowest initial payment. The escalator for this loan is 2.85%. It has the same credit requirements as Credit Human loans. And again, there is no prepayment penalty. Okay, so let's go a little bit deeper into the Lite loan requirements. Earlier funding equals earlier M1. With the Lite loan, the loan funds after site survey, meaning it does have earlier payments for the homeowner, but the customer gets 5% right away to cover the payments until install. Then the remaining 25% is funded about 45 days after PTO. So let's keep in mind how this works and go into some details about how much of a discount this 2.85 escalator loan is. They're going to receive about a 22% lower payment compared to the fixed loan, and they will receive a refund check. Now, they could keep that refund check. The payments are already lower, plus cash in pocket, or they can use that refund to repay the loan, further reducing the loan balance and the monthly payment. They get the benefit of a 22% lower payment compared to fixed, plus the added benefit of a rebate check, which is huge. So let's go over the actual payment for that product and assume that this is a similar loan of $40,000. Before anything discount is applied, a fixed loan would be $362 a month, whereas the Lite loan would be $283, which represents a 22% reduction in payments, and that's before they receive a refund check. So if you were to take the Aura product at $28,000 after they've received their upfront discount, their payment would be $253. If you take the Aura Plus, where the same $40,000 where they finance the full cost of the system and use the Lite loan, their monthly payment would be $283. But keep in mind, they'll also have $12K in their pocket that they can do with whatever they want. If they want to use that for something else, they can. But if they choose to repay their loan and re-am, that payment would drop to $204, giving them maximum flexibility to use the tax benefit how they want, similar to how it was with the ITC on a standard purchase. That is a massive savings and an incredible product for most markets that are going to have Aura Plus Lite. So which states are going to have Aura Plus and the Lite loan active? First of all, Aura is live in Arizona, California, Colorado, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and Texas. And Aura Plus is active in New Jersey. But we also have a bunch of markets that are launching today in a pre-sale environment. And that includes Arizona, California, Colorado, Massachusetts, Texas, Connecticut, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Maine, Michigan, Oregon, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. So you're probably asking, what does it mean to be in a pre-sale market? So let's actually go over that a little bit. If you are operating in one of those Aura Plus pre-selling markets, here's how that works. You're still going to be able to get a loan for 100% of the gross system price. The customer will sign a normal purchase agreement at the point of sale and an additional document that outlines the 30% rebate. But because the participate lease documents aren't 100% ready for those states, but we want you to be able to go out and sell in those states, the lease agreement will be signed once it's made available. Now, this will still allow that project to go all the way to install. It will not block install, but there will be a PTO blocker until the homeowner signs the lease agreement once it is available. So you'll still be able to get this project funded, installed, and paid. And when that lease agreement is ready, the customer signs it and they'll be eligible for their rebate, which is outlined in that additional doc that goes over the 30% rebate. So in all these markets, you're able to sell this product today as a pre-sale market under the understanding that once the lease agreement comes available, you return to the customer and have them sign the agreement so they get their refund. So how do you go about selling Aura Plus? Well, you're going to enter the usage and design as normal in Aurora, and the base mod is still the QCell 410. When you get to the pricing screen, you will price this product as if it was a loan using the net price per watt tool on the upper left-hand side. So you as the rep will set the price per watt that you intend to make. Then any adders that you choose for that project will be added to the gross system price of the loan. So again, this is, for those of you who have never sold loans before, this is the opposite of a TPO, where you get an EPC and the adders are deducted from this. In this environment, you have far more control over your net PPW because you set your net price per watt and adders are built onto that. So what you choose on the upper left-hand side is maintained. Now, here's a key difference when you're selling Aura Plus. To demonstrate to the customer their refund amount, 2 steps below the adder screen, on the left-hand side below net price per watt, you'll see adders, discounts, and incentives. You're going to want to click on the incentives button and toggle Aura Plus refund incentive on. so that when you get to the financing screen, they'll be able to see what that refund amount will be. They're still going to finance the gross system cost, and you can demonstrate what the refund will be coming back to that customer. Now, to locate these products inside of Aurora, you'll choose Aurora Custom Financing. And you'll see three options for Aura Regular: Cash, Credit Human Fixed, or Credit Human Lite. And then if you're going the Aura Plus route, you'll have Fixed and Lite. The Cash product is only available with the Aura Regular product. So this is an incredible enhancement that we've built right into Lightspeed. Because the Lite loan is not yet in Aurora, we now have a payment calculator that you can access from Lightspeed today. And we'll give you the link at the end of this presentation. This will show you system size, loan amount. It'll automatically calculate the 30% repayment, any additional repayment that the customer wants to put towards the loan. And then you'll have a drop down for the Lite loan or the fixed 0%, and you'll put in the annual production of the project. This will give you the total repayment, which is typically the 30% repayment or the refund, and give you the initial payment and what the customer would pay after they re-am the loan. So using this calculator will give you total payment comparisons. So for instance, if you were doing a 25-year TPO term at a 2.9% escalator, that would be their TPO starting payment, and you can make a real good solid comparison based on what their total payments would be with Aura versus what they would pay over the course of a full TPO. Plus, they'll still have all of their VPP rights. So this calculator built into Lightspeed is going to be an incredible demonstration tool for how effective and amazing the Aura product is for your customers. Now, to apply and obtain financing, you're going to access the rate card inside of the Credit Human application, which we have in Intercom or the Sales Resource Center. You'll match the plan number to the loan product chosen. If you are doing Aura Lite, where the plan number is, you'll type in the word Aura, and that will give you the Lite loan. Remember, the loan amount should match the financed amount in the proposal. With Aura Plus, you finance the gross system price. With Aura Regular, you are financing it after the rebate has already been taken out of that project. You'll follow the same Aurora workflow where you choose Eggs to CRM. It will give you a financial breakdown and show you the lease and the Credit Human amount. Now it's going to show 130% of that GSP. The 30% refund will show as an adder. You'll just proceed as normal. Again, if you're in one of those pre-sale markets, make sure you discuss with the homeowner that you'll sign the lease later and get the eligibility for that refund once those lease documents are ready to go. Make sure they complete all of the Credit Human loan documents from the Credit Human portal. Then all of the Freedom and lease agreements will be in DocuSign, as well as those additional financing agreements and the separation of agreements documents. Now, let's talk a little bit more about Credit Human and some of the requirements there as well. For Credit Human, they have a FICO of 650 plus and a loan amount of $7,500 to $100,000. There is no system size requirements, and they do allow for second systems. The property must be owned by the applicant. Co-signers are not required to live at home. Again, Credit Human does not have a welcome call, but they do complete a courtesy call at the time of funding. So depending on whether it's Aura Lite or Aura Fixed, at the time that loan is funded, they will receive a courtesy call from Credit Human to go over that loan with them. Okay, so we've reached the end of the presentation portion. About halfway through, you should have seen a Q&A go active where you can start submitting questions. Again, we have key stakeholders here from Freedom Forever to answer your questions. But first, we're going to hear from our CEO, Brett Bushey. Brett, I'm going to kick it over to you.
Hey guys, thank you very much. So I'm actually here in Sacramento, and I'm on the second or third stop on the Aura Roadshow. We are going to be coming to Texas next week, assuming we don't have too many issues with the ice storm, Florida the following week, and then Illinois and the Northeast the week after that. What's exciting for me is, for those of you guys who have known me all the way back to 2015, in 2015, most people were selling TPO. And when it took somebody that doesn't come from the industry that started reading the contracts, and it just didn't make a lot of sense to me that people were signing up for a fixed home improvement that they didn't own. And to me, in layman's terms, I was thinking, no one ever leases a pool or a kitchen remodel. Why would a fixed home improvement be leased? And why would I not own that? And I had a hard time getting my head wrapped around that. That led us down to the road in the next 12 months is that we converted most of our business to loans and purchases. And we were one of the first people that were really selling primarily loans. A lot of people know like Good Leap didn't come out until 2017. And we kind of led the revolution to go to loans. Then you fast forward to 2022 with the Inflation Reduction Act. The Inflation Reduction Act forced our industry to move to TPO for a variety of different reasons, but mainly because there was additional tax credit in TPOs as well as individuals. But in the new world post-Inflation Reduction Act, there was an additional 30% plus of incentives that could be accessed only through TPO. In addition to that, virtual power plants came in 2020 and started creating other revenues when you had batteries attached. So as you know, a lot of people are talking about VPPs today. And the only reason we're talking about it as an industry today is because now individuals can access VPP revenue in markets like California and Texas, and this is the future. But the reality is VPP revenue has been accessed by all of the TPO providers, and the first VPP deal was signed on June 16, 2020. That was between that inflated EPCs. But now through Aura and through individual VPP, there is this huge opportunity to access all of these additional revenue streams. Now, a lot of people will say, well, hey, in my market, I'm in a market like Florida or Massachusetts, I don't have a high battery attachment. But when you enter into a lease, a customer then cannot go back and add a battery. It's very, very difficult for it. And VPP revenue, and almost every analyst will tell you that VPP revenue is going to skyrocket over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, because during peak time periods is when the utilities need to access this additional power, and they are willing to pay a premium for that. So we believe if you have a battery, you are going to be giving up a lot of VPP revenue in the future if you're in a lease or a PPA. That is the main difference that we have out there. So even if your customer doesn't have a battery today and they enter into a lease and they add a battery 5 years from now, they're not going to be able to access VPP revenue. So I believe that this is the single best product, the best financial product that we've ever been able to offer to consumers. And why I can say that, loans were great. But one of the problems with loan was what was the eligibility for the tax credit? Not every customer was eligible if they did not have a tax burden for the tax credit. In this scenario, it's truly a hybrid product. So the first 6 years, it's a lease, and it allows 100% of the customers to indirectly access the tax credits. And when I say indirectly, they don't get any of the tax credits, but we have a tax equity partner that does. And that money is being rebated and going back to the customer. And that customer should, most of the time, pay down their loan to be able to do it. And the customer in the first 6 years, even though they are leasing the product in that 6-year period, they still are getting 70% of the VPP revenue in that 6-year term. After they own the system, they'll own 100% of it. And to be able to access all of these additional adders, additional tax incentives, getting rid of the eligibility of the 30% ITC tax credit. That's what makes this product superior to anything that's ever existed. And we are very, very excited about it. And so I'm going to be coming to a city close to you to be talking about specific economics. And when you look at that, we're trying to show you complete economics. I want very, very different. And it's more like an apples to watermelon comparison. And I'm trying to come up with a way to explain it to you guys to show how different it is. But it is very, very, very different product. And this now, with the BBB happening, we thought a pathway to ownership didn't exist. This is a very creative solution and gives customers a pathway to ownership. And we couldn't be any more excited about it. We think this is going to be transformative in the industry. We think it will eventually become, by the end of the year, I believe it'll become 30 to 50% of the marketplace. But we are going to be leaders, and we are going to lead from the front. And so you will see, in my opinion, everyone gravitate to it through our leadership. The product is phenomenal. We are way ahead of everyone. No one has this product. Will people come out and copy our products? Absolutely. But the escalator loan product, which is very, very unique, is exclusive to Freedom. All of this stuff is built to give you the greatest competitive advantage from a recruiting standpoint, but also from a customer standpoint. That is what we've been working on for the last few months. The goal is not just to win, it's to get back to dominating. And to do that, we had to have a unique product that no one else has. And that's what we've been able to do. That's what we've been able to do in the past few months. So I appreciate everyone, appreciate your guys' leadership, and look forward to selling a lot more Aura. Thank you.
Thanks, Brett. Okay, we're going to jump over into the Q&A section now. Rob, I'm going to ask you to do some heavy lifting here today. A lot of the questions that we're getting right now is, how does this affect someone who wants to sell their home? Can you talk about how this product is, beneficial for someone looking to sell compared to a TPO?
Yeah, definitely. That is by far one of the biggest advantages of Aura and Aura Plus. When you look at how that scenario would work with the TPO, just as a comparison first, the customer really has two options. They can either transfer it to a new homeowner, or they can buy it out. And effectively, the way these TPO agreements are written, when you buy out a TPO, you essentially have to prepay the remaining payments that are left on the agreement. So you're paying 25 year, however much is left of a 25-year agreement with whatever escalator is built in. So there's no discount. They want all of that energy, and you're prepaying for that essentially upfront when you buy it out. So that cost is typically very high, and it would be the same as if you were to pay it over the 25 years. Conversely, when you're looking at an Aura job, it is effectively a loan at that point, because the prepaid lease has already been paid for by the loan and through the tax benefits that the prepaid leasing company receives. So when you're selling your home, you have a loan with a loan principal that you can pay off at any time. So oftentimes what will happen, and what would be the most beneficial to a homeowner that is selling their home and also to a homeowner that's buying the home, is they would pay off the loan as a part of that closing process. The new homeowner then buys that house with the solar system paid off and included in the price of the home. Much better for the customer, much better from a total cost perspective, and of course, much better for the new home buyer.
All right. Before we get to some of the ones that we've approved, we're getting a lot of repeat questions about folks that didn't get installed before December 31st. What is the best path forward for Aura, and how should we direct those folks that have those projects in waiting?
So what we've done for all of those projects is we've blocked PTO submission. Once we achieve PTO, that is the point of no return on swapping to a different financing product. So we block PTO on those jobs to make sure that when they do get installed, we don't get them to a point where they can't swap to Aura. What we're going to be doing is working with the sales managers, the sales leaders, and the support staff to reach out to the reps and the customers and understand whether each customer wants to swap to Aura or not. If they don't, because let's say the customer is just going to, still, even though they didn't get installed in 2025, they're still going to opt to, do what they want to do with their own taxes and perhaps claim the tax credit. That's totally good. We're okay with that. We would unblock PTO at that point. If they do want to swap to Aura, when we have the lease docs available, we will help facilitate the signing of the lease docs, in which case they would get, when that's all said and done, they would get 30% back in the form of that refund check. So except for New Jersey, we don't have those lease docs yet, which is why, again, we're pre-selling in all of those states. But when we do, we can go ahead and get those lease docs signed, get that refund back to the homeowner, and everybody's happy. Everybody gets their tax incentives and their system as they originally expected.
Thanks, Rob. Next question we have is from Kevin, and his question is: for those paying cash, do they have ownership after funding that cash account, or do they have to wait the 6th anniversary to own? So the way I would answer that is, if they want ownership from day one, they would just do a Paykeeper account. But if they're looking for the benefits of Aura, where they get the immediate 30% with the Aura product, then they could be eligible for transferring ship of ownership at that 6th year. Is that accurate, Rob?
Yeah, that's correct. So to state that differently, the leasing company must own it for 6 years as a kind of condition of earning the tax credits. So if you're going with Aura, regardless of how you're paying for the prepaid lease, whether it's cash up front or financing it with a loan, the leasing company must own it for 6 years to be able to monetize those tax credits. So either way, if you're going through Aura, it's a lease for 6 years. At the end of the 6th, basically at that 6th anniversary, they can request to have an ownership transfer. There would be, and we can talk a little bit more about this. I know we talked about it quite a bit in the original call. They would do a fair market value calculation, which we fully expect to result in pretty much a $0 or $1 fair market value at that point. The homeowner would then take ownership at that year 6 anniversary, is how that would work.
All right. Our next question is from David, and he's asking, can you explain the 15% production and 3% tolerance, how that works for someone who doesn't quite grasp that?
So it's very similar. The 15% is almost exactly what we have with cash purchases, with cash and loan that everybody was used to, that's sold those in the past. We just want to make sure essentially that we're not aggressively overstating production. And when it comes back, and we do our actual estimate after, site audit and doing the design, that it's within a reasonable tolerance of what the customer originally expected. So that's why we have that minus 15% tolerance. So basically what that means is, if you sold a job with 10,000 kilowatt hours estimated, and we come back and we say it's going to be 9,000, that's 90%, or 10% loss, that's okay. But if it comes back at 5,000, we're going to have a problem with that, because that's a very substantial difference from the 10,000 originally. So basically, if it's 10,000, you can go, as long as you're 8,500 kilowatt hours and above of what the actual estimated year one production is, after Freedom does our review and tweaks the trees and all that, we're good. If it's anything less than that in this example, you would have to essentially go back and get a change order to fix that production amount. On the system size tolerance, essentially what that means is that we can change the system size, regardless of production. We can change the system size to be 3% lower or 10% higher than what it was originally sold at. As long as it's within that tolerance, there's no paperwork needed. If it's outside of that tolerance, we would need a change order to adjust the system size to the customer.
Thanks, Rob. Next question is, what is the difference between Aura Plus and Aura Plus Lite? That refers to the avenue you're choosing. If you're choosing Aura Plus, that means that the homeowner is receiving a refund for their project. Aura Plus Lite is they're receiving a refund for that project, and they're choosing the escalating loan. So that's the difference between those two. What is the max system size? Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, but there are no system size requirements for Aura, but there is a maximum loan limit with the Credit Human loan, and that's $100,000, right?
That's correct. There's going to be a loan maximum if they are paying with a loan. And then other than that, though, there isn't a system size maximum except if there's one placed on, the customer by the utility, be that in the form of a, usage cap or a system size cap, perhaps to, receive net metering or something like that. But yeah, Aura in and of itself doesn't have a system size cap.
All right. Next question is about Maryland. I know you, prior to launching this webinar, we had an update on Maryland. And how does the homeowner able to retain SREC incentives? Do you have any information about how SRECs will work here and about Maryland?
Yeah, so Maryland, I know we didn't include it on the states list. We are going to open up Maryland today with the pre-sale states as well. However, we will not allow the MSAP rebate to be sold yet. We have some conversation, a little bit of work to do to open up the MSAP rebate, but we are adding Maryland to the pre-sale Aura Plus states. So hot off the press, that is true. Maryland is live in a pre-sale status. In terms of the incentives, the way that Aura generally will work is that all of these different incentives, homeowners will be able to earn. Whether that's SRECs, whether that's, Brett talked a lot about VPP, as did Mark. We can get into that a little bit more. When we talk about the Illinois incentives, the Maryland incentives, all of those are going to be earned by the customer. Now, we have a little bit of work to do systematically to set those up. The way that, I don't want to be too long-winded here, but the way that Aura will work and Participate, who is the leasing company, works is that they have two different types of incentives. They have upfront incentives and additional incentives. Upfront incentives are those that are taken off the price upfront. We're not going to right away have any of those. We will, though, have additional incentives. And those essentially are just incentives that are written onto the contract and go to the customer at some point later. So that will be the case again with SRECs, including New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Ohio, all of the open market SREC states. That also includes Illinois and Maryland. So, like I said, we have a little bit of work to do to kind of get those incentives onto the contract, but that is what you should expect is customer will get the benefit of those. They need to get, that all needs to be approved by the leasing company and signed off and so on, but that is what you should expect. So in the last piece I'll add to this is in the Aura Plus calculator that Mark mentioned, which is live. Everybody has that in their portal right now. We turned it on about an hour and a half ago. So you should see that. If you refresh your page on the left menu, you're going to see the Aura Plus. I think it's called Aura Plus calculator. So you all can go check that out. You can play around with payments. One of the things you'll see at the bottom of that calculator, in addition to both the payment estimates and the total cost calculator, is an Illinois rebate estimator. And so that's going to, you can enter in a couple of pieces of information there, and that's going to estimate what the Illinois rebates would be, which include not only the ABP rebate, but also the DG, smart inverter rebate, and the storage rebate. So we have that for Illinois. There's a chance that we add that if we need to for, other states that have those types of incentives. I don't think the rest of them are pretty straightforward. Illinois is a little bit more complex, which is why we have it, but we can certainly add that if we need to based on the feedback from your teams. So I know that was a lot, but hopefully that answers the question.
Thanks, Rob. For the Aura Plus Lite, there's a 2.875 escalator. Is that escalator tied to the monthly payment, or is that actually increasing the interest rate?
That is the payment itself, and it's 2.85 to just clarify that, but it's the payment itself escalates.
Thanks, Rob. Another question that we got was, will they have to run credit again for the lease agreement when it comes available, or is it just they have to sign the documents once they're available?
There is no credit associated with the leasing agreement. So no, as long as they're approved for credit human, that's the only credit application they would need to run.
Okay. And we've gotten a lot of questions about ground mounts. Can you go over the availability of ground mounts and why those currently aren't available?
Yeah, ground mounts are still not available at this point. The sticking point is getting the mounting hardware that is FEOC compliant, which stands for Foreign Entity of Concern. We don't need to get into it. There's a lot of rules around the tax credits and what can be claimed and what can't. And the short of it is that We don't 100% yet have confirmed fiat compliant materials for ground mounts. We are working on that, expect to have it resolved soon, but we don't have those quite yet. So any ground mounts with Aura and actually the other TPO products as well are going to be put on hold for the time being until we resolve that, which again, we're hoping to be very soon.
So a lot of the questions we're getting in the Q&A revolve around how fair market value is determined and how that transferability operates. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that, Rob?
Yeah, for sure. And we'll have, I know we said this probably about a month ago now. It's taken a little bit longer to get than we expected, but we will have a one pager from Participate that explains this. But essentially, the way to describe it is that they're going to do a fair market value calculation whenever the request comes in from the homeowner to transfer ownership, which, by the way, does not happen automatically. The homeowner does need to request it. But the fair market value is going to be such that they look at the independent fair market value of that system, and then they offset it against any other obligations that have been made by the homeowner, and so or otherwise. So what we expect, because again, the homeowner has prepaid for 25 years of use of the system. They've prepaid that money. That money that they've paid is going to offset any remaining fair market value of that system at that time. Not to mention the fact that they've already gotten the tax credits, and any person who were to buy that system at fair market value in year 6 or later isn't going to be able to claim tax credits. So all of that's going to be factored into the cost of the system at that point. And we fully expect, while they can't necessarily put this in writing, we all fully expect that systems will be zero or very close to zero in almost 100% of scenarios here. So I have no hesitation with you all talking about that with your homeowners and describing it as the cost will be basically zero at that point because of, again, all of the funding that the leasing company has already received from the tax credits and the homeowners at that time, or prior to that time, I should say.
And Rob, a lot of the questions we're getting is which markets is Aura available in and which one is Aura Plus. So for all these pre-sale markets, that's specifically an Aura Plus environment. They can't use Aura there. So this is specifically for Aura Plus, right?
That's correct. That's correct. We're not pre-selling Aura. We're only pre-selling Aura Plus. And yeah, we have the states list. Of course, we'll send this webinar out. We'll send a recap. We'll include the states list. And as soon as we have the leasing docs from the prepaid leasing company for all of these states, which we expect to kind of trickle in over the next couple of weeks, they will move from a pre-sale status to just a normal live status, as we've seen in New Jersey. New Jersey is a great example. Aura Plus is fully live in New Jersey. And the reason that it's not pre-sale is because we have the leasing docs for Aura Plus in that state, and they'll kind of trickle in as we go. And when that happens, we'll open up Aura Plus with the correct docs for new sales. And then we'll also kind of initiate the process to go back to homeowners and sign those lease docs for anybody who's been kind of pre-sold on that product.